Hello. Today I'm going to be doing a presentation on the theatrical form of British pantomime. So, British pantomime is an art form that began in the late 17th century. It was born in England, actually. Well, not born, it began in England. And the person considered to be the father of British pantomime is John Rich. He is the one who actually came up with the idea and started producing it in his theaters. He got the idea for British pantomime from the Italian art form of commedia dell'arte. So, British pantomime can be found randomly throughout the year in different theaters, but the most prominent time to see British pantomime is around Christmas. You can find around Christmas time you can find these plays performed in just about any theater, both large theaters and small theaters. However, if you're trying to find one outside of Christmas time, you're really only going to be able to find them rarely in small theaters, like community theaters, where there's going to be little tiny local performances. So, the plots of British pantomimes, the plays themselves are mostly directed towards kids. So the plots tend to follow some like folk tales and popular fairy tales. You'll also see them. The most popular ones you're going to find them with are stuff like Goldilocks and Cinderella. They're very straightforward, unsophisticated humor, but they're very comedic throughout the whole thing. And what they're going to use to keep this comedic humor going is stuff like unsophisticated humor and exaggeration. So what I mean by exaggeration is that actors will use anything that they can to exaggerate. They will exaggerate their dialogue, their facial expressions, whatever they can to add on to the comedic effect of the scene. And then when I say unsophisticated humor, I just mean like low-level insults and physical humor, like hitting somebody upside the head, maybe chasing somebody with a baseball bat, stuff like that. So, similar to commedia dell'arte, British pantomime also has many predetermined roles. So, in commedia dell'arte, though, however, all of the predetermined roles are always in the shows. In British pantomime, you won't always find all the characters in the shows. You're just going to find some of them here and there. So you'll find like 3 or 4, but you won't find all of them in every show. So the first one we have is the Dame. So the Dame is a female character that is played by a man. She's larger than life. She usually has big hair, lots of makeup. She's supposed to be unattractive and kind of fat. Next we have slapstick. So the slapstick you're going to find in just about every single British pantomime performance. His role is just to push the comedy along, either by getting hit, being hit, or just getting in a weird situation that brings along some comedy. There's also the animal. So the animal is just somebody who's going to be on either one of the sides of either protagonist or antagonist doing something, but he's always played by a human. There's no actual animals on the set. There's the principal boy and the principal girl. So whether it's a principal boy or a principal girl, it's always going to be played by a female actor. And this is, you can tell if it's a principal boy or principal girl based on looking at the protagonist of the story. And for example, Peter Pan, the protagonist is indeed Peter Pan, but you're still going to have, it is a principal boy, but you will still have a female actor playing the role. Next we have goodies and baddies. So goodies and baddies are like support characters for the protagonist and antagonist. So goodies will help the protagonist, antagonist will be helped by the baddies, and they may not do it directly, but they're always going to be doing something, whether they think they are or not, that helps out these two characters. Next we have the sidekick. He or she is always a direct help to the protagonist of the story, and without this sidekick, they probably wouldn't be able to do what they are doing in the story. Okay, so audience participation is a huge part of British pantomime. Characters will instigate the audience in different ways, maybe by asking them questions or telling them to do stuff, all kinds of different things just to get the audience to participate, because this helps keep the kids' attention by making them feel as if they are part of the show and keep them interested in the rest of the show. You'll see characters telling the audience to do hissing and booing, maybe booing at an evil character when they come on, something like that. Or he's behind you. Oh no, he or she is not. Yeah, he's behind you. That's be something like the hero's like, does anybody know where the evil person is? And then the audience will be like, he's behind you or she's behind you, something like that. It's all just more stuff to keep the audience invested in the show. So some physical and vocal attributes that you'll find in British pantomime. First off, quick and witty comebacks. For an example that I have here is that the stepmother makes quick remarks to the audience. So this is something where the audience is actually part of the exchange here. So in this situation, the stepmother was whenever the audience would hiss and boo at her, she would immediately whip her head around and say something like, "Ah, I boo you," something like that. Comedic tone. The actors are going to constantly be changing their tones, maybe from serious to happy to sad, all in different ways that they believe that is going to best help this comedic part of that scene. Facial expressions, as I said earlier, hugely exaggerated facial expressions. When they are sad, they are sad. When they are happy, they are happy. It all depends on how they are, depending on the scene. And these facial expressions do two things. One, it adds some comedy to it, and two, like I said earlier, it helps keep everything clearly shown for the kids that are watching the show. Choreography, big part. There's dancing, there's little fight scenes, there's chase scenes in these. Choreography is a big part in keeping the show from looking orderly instead of just being chaotic of people running around doing random things. Choreography keeps British pantomime together, just like in most theater performances that involve dancing and stuff. So up next, I'm going to be showing you a video where I'm doing some practice that many people that act in British pantomime do in order to help perfect their art. So I did some facial expressions. I'm going to do annoyed, shocked, and angry. And then I'm also going to do some different voices like feminine and shy.
Hello, I will be doing some practices on facial expressions and different voices in order to help with my abilities in British pantomime. I would like to start with facial expressions, and the first one I will do is annoyed. Next, I will do shocked. Next, I will be doing angry. Now I'd like to try some different voices. I would like to start off with feminine. Hello, my name is Cinderella. Next, I'll be doing shy. Hey, my name is Bill. My name is Bill.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an explanation for my practice really quick. So the facial expressions I did, as I've said multiple times, I did it to clearly convey. I practiced this in order to clearly convey my emotions throughout the show. But the importance behind my voice is that this is the main practice that I did here, was that men need to be able to play a feminine role. So that's why I practiced a feminine voice. There are multiple roles, principal boy, principal girl, and the dames, where men play as females, and these are common roles. Both of these roles are always found in British pantomimes as well, or almost always found in British pantomimes. And if a man can't play these roles, then they are at a significant disadvantage than other male actors that can play these roles. Cinderella. Cinderella is a common British pantomime that can be found pretty much every year around Christmas time, as with other British pantomimes. So some predetermined roles that you'll find in this one are the dame, which is going to be the stepsisters are always dames, but on occasion you can find that the evil stepmother is also a dame. So next we have the sidekick. The sidekick is the fairy godmother in this situation. There are goodies and baddies. The goodies are not really present in here because Cinderella and the fairy godmother are usually just by themselves. If anything, the animals might be goodies. And the baddies are clearly the evil stepsisters. Because the antagonist is the evil stepmother, so those two stepsisters are helping the stepmother. Slapstick, there's not if you were to watch the show, you'd understand why I say this, but there's not a specific character who is a slapstick. It sort of is passed around throughout different characters as they try to all of them playing a slapstick kind of role. I will now be doing a moment in theater, acting out a miniature scene from Cinderella. Hello, boys and girls and boys. Welcome to the castle that I work at. Well, it's quite beautiful, isn't it? Tough crowd. Well, Anyways, I work here at this castle, as I said, and it's not my castle, but I just work here. The Baroness is the one who owns it. Now, let me tell you something about this Baroness. She is evil. She is absolutely terrifying. Now, let me explain to you how terrifying she really is. She can kill an animal with her bare hands. I mean, it's terrifying to watch. Now, while we're on the topic, I'm going to go ahead and tell you something to do. When you hear this sound, that means that the evil Baroness is coming in. And I want you to give her a loud boo. Okay, go ahead and try it. Excellent. You did amazing. You guys are awesome. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you about some other evil people that live in this castle. The evil stepsisters. Now, the reason they are so evil is because they are so ugly. They are the most ugly people you have seen in your entire life. Now, when you see them come in, I want you to give them a big, loud, ew. Just like that. Go ahead and try it. That was phenomenal. You children are just amazing. Now, all I want you to do is focus on those two things, and when you... Do you hear it? She's already coming. The Baroness is coming. You need to get ready. Now, that was me acting out a narration scene at the beginning of Cinderella. Some British pantomimes will have these in order to do what I did. I introduced a audience participation in two ways, through the saying ew and saying boo. I introduced the two evil characters that will be found in the show, and I was able to introduce the setting, the main setting of the show. All of these were done through a simple narration at the beginning to clearly show all the kids what is going to be happening. This is what I learned. Differences between British pantomime and mime. So in mime, you're focusing just on your movements. You can't speak. And I thought that would be the same as British pantomime, but I was wrong. British pantomime, voice is a huge part. You use it for the audience participation, for the humor, for quick comments. I mean, your voice is constantly used in British pantomime, which is so different from mime. I just thought that was very interesting. Next, we have the origins of British pantomime, which is Commedia dell'arte, and I was completely unaware of that. I knew of Commedia dell'arte, but I never knew that it had birthed a new version of itself in England. I had never heard of it. It was very interesting to me. And then there's this idea of swapping gender roles. You see this in some other plays where they'll do this, but you don't actually see that. You don't see it like as a common occurrence. And in British pantomime, this is just normal. And I find it so funny because when you see a big fat man walking in a dress with makeup and big hair, it's immediately funny to the audience. And it's just such an interesting piece of comedy. Well, that is my information. That is my presentation. Thank you for your time.